for Monday, October 8th. How's everybody doing? Good? Lots of rain, right? Isn't it supposed to rain for the next 3 days or something? So make sure your houses are in good shape and that your dehumidifiers are on, I think is the message there. For the headline, I was going to talk about the grand opening of the Frost Village Silver. You know, it was really very exciting. One of the best parts of being mayor is when you pass a project and then it's built and then it opens and it's amazing. So if you get a chance, you should go check it out. It's at the corner of Frost and English. It's the communities for 55 up. There's everything from a pool to a coffee bar to just beautiful apartments that back up right to the Gateway Trail. So they have this patio that is just very beautiful right out there with the hedges and the trail right behind that. So,
And the south-facing balconies overlook the savannah.
in the south ones over the savannah, yes. So it's quite a place, and Sherman Associates puts on a fantastic ribbon cutting, I'll tell you that. And they have been wonderful partners. I also want to thank the staff and everybody that was involved in that, because I know that was a big project to get off the ground, and thanks to all of you. But it is well worth it, and residents are moving in, and I think Councilmember Abrams might be slated to move in. What did you think? You were there.
It's an amazing building. The indoor pool, the coffee bar, the workout area, the fire feature out on the balcony. When I gave my opening, or some remarks after the mayor gave her opening remarks, I commented that I wanted to move in there right away because it was absolutely beautiful.
It is.
Very well
So
appointed.
It's a lovely building.
It's really
Spread the
nice.
word, 'cause,
Yeah.
and welcome to residents who are moving in there. They said that they have projects downtown, Sherman Associates. People are moving from the downtown project to the Maplewood project because they like the builder so much, right? And then, of course, being out in the open. So that is the headline. And now we will move to the Pledge of Allegiance. If you will join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call by our city clerk, Andrea Sint.
Councilmember Zhang.
Here.
Councilmember Juniman.
Here?
Councilmember Abrams.
Here.
Mayor Slawick.
Here.
And Councilmember Smith is not joining tonight.
Okay, thank you. And I'm not going to read the address on protocol because we do not have a public hearing. After that, we will have approval of agenda.
Move approval of agenda.
Second.
It's been moved by Zhang and seconded by Juniman, approval of agenda. Is there any further discussion? Is anyone going, Councilmember Juniman, then Abrams. I didn't see who pushed first.
I think we should highlight number 5, 6, and 7, and they're all very similar, so it will not be difficult. But I think we should call attention to the fact that people have donated to the city.
On the consent agenda?
Yes.
Councilmember Abrams, do you have anything for council?
Yes, I do.
recommendations? Yeah.
A is bulky items for fall cleanup, and B, Edgerton School Edition.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Abrams.
Thank you. I'd like to add, in addition to Frost English Silver, there was another grand opening at Conifer Ridge since our last meeting. There was also the White Bear Area Chamber Awards Luncheon, and then the our Maplewood business meeting.
Excellent. So,
A lot of things happening,
okay.
or that have happened, I should say.
Yes, and to add to that, we had the opening of our female veterans transition home. I want to talk a little bit about that. I went to open house on Saturday. The Regional Council of Mayors visited 3M, the Innovation Center, so I was going to say a word about that. The Gold Line is debating a downtown loop, so I want to get you in the loop on that. We had another business called Stat Home Healthcare, and the Rec Run. Just wanted to mention that. So with that, anything else? All those in favor say aye.
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 Hearing ayes all. The agenda is approved. Approval of minutes for the September 24th, 2018 City Council workshop minutes.
Second.
It's been moved by Abrams and seconded by Zhang. Approval of the City Council workshop minutes for September 24th. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Seeing 3 ayes and 1 abstain, the minutes are passed. Next, the September 24th City Council meeting minutes.
Second?
It's been moved by Abrams and seconded by Zhang, the City Council meeting minutes for September 24th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those abstaining?
Abstain.
Okay, so I'm hearing 3 ayes and 1 abstain. The meeting minutes are passed.
Mayor?
Councilmember Juniman.
Thank you. I apologize to my colleagues and also to staff that I was unable to be here last time. Believe me, I wasn't on a vacation, unless you call hoard food at United Hospital a vacation.
See you tonight, Councilmember Juniman.
Thank you.
And next, we'll go to appointments and presentations, administrative presentations. First, we'll have our council calendar update by our city manager, Melinda Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor Slawick, members of the City Council. The council calendar is given to you to have a look ahead at what's coming up at our next workshops primarily, and then also to update you on topics of concern or interest that have been brought forward to staff and where we're at with that. So starting with the next workshop on October 25th, and that's a change in our meeting date, we're going to have the Tobacco 21 advocates here. So that should be a lively group of students and others on their cause for raising the tobacco age to 21. And we're also going to have an update on the Gold Line BRT. On November 13th, we're going to spend some time talking about our EDA and what our responsibilities are and some of the program areas that we think we can consider, and getting some input from you on that. And on November 26th, we're going to have 2 things: the North End study, an update on the first meeting, and how things are looking there. Tonight, you'll be talking about creating that work group. And then we're also going to talk to you about the Comcast franchise renewal and where we're at on that. And we hope to get that wrapped up by the end of the year, or at the latest, the first meeting in January. With regard to where we are on rental licensing, you heard about that this evening. We've got EDA responsibilities coming to you in the next month. We've talked about the Minnetonka Tree Program that's scheduled. We have a review of building permit fees, and I hope to get that out to you by the end of this week. We are going to make a recommendation to not charge for solar panel permits just a flat fee. We were doing it based on cost of the project, and we're trying to look at that as a way to encourage more use of solar energy. We looked at the urban ag ordinance this evening. We have one of our superintendents here tonight, and the other is scheduled, I believe, for our meeting in November. The pedestrian safety plan is going to take a little bit of work, and Mr. Love is working on that, but that may take a while to get that back to you. We did have a report on trail trimming and how that's decided and how that works. That was in the 9/28 FYI. We are working on a marketing plan for July 4th and how we can maybe do some cost sharing on that event with our business community. And that was also given to you in a report on September 10th and September 14th in the FYI. And then we haven't started looking at this yet, but it has come up as an issue of concern, and that's requiring sign removals from buildings once they become vacant. So we're going to look at that. So that's our council calendar for this evening. I was going to mention that one of the council members has talked to Lois about looking at the possibility of creating a council calendar where you could be invited to some of these meetings so you could kind of stay on top of them. And the one thing that I'd like you to think about, and you can talk about it to me individually, or as this moves forward, we can talk about it, but having the FYI be the basis for those calendar appointments so that you're all getting the same information. One of the things that we're concerned about is that some people get all the emails and some don't, and it gets really confusing about different openings, who sends those out and who they go to. And so we're going to try to make the FYI be more calendar oriented, and you can actually tell us if you're going to something too and you want that shared. So we're going to try working on that a little bit to see if that's a more efficient way to get everybody knowing what's going on. And then we'll actually send you a council calendar invite, but we got to create that forum yet. So we're working with IT on that. So stay tuned on that. Other than that, Mayor, that's all I have for this evening.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Unless you have things that you wanted to bring forward.
I'll just say on the calendar, I think it's important for council members to attend events, and I know we all have conflicts at times, but sometimes I think there's so many things we get kind of mixed up, and having some kind of a list or something, so we could just check in week by week, okay, this is what's happening. So thank you. Thank you. Good report. Next, we'll have council presentations, starting with Councilmember Juniman.
Thank you. Just a reminder to all residents that October is our cleanup month, and unlike the spring where you haul everything you can think of out of your garage and your basement to Aldrich Arena, in October we have reduced rates for bulky items at your curbside pickup, and you just contact Republic Services. And then the second thing is we were just notified this past week that Edgerton School is having an addition to the building, and I just want everybody who lives in the Roseville School District, part of Maplewood, to know that, because that was part of our referendum in November. And how lucky are we that Edgerton is one of the first buildings that's really getting some things done. They're doing some reconfiguration inside with some classroom space, but the biggest thing really is security measures. They're going to redo the south-facing entrance where everybody comes in, and it's going to be much more defined, and it will take less staff to sort people out as they're coming in the building. So we're moving forward into finally being in the 21st century, and it's thanks to the voters who gave the school district the money to start those projects. Thank you.
Councilmember Abrams.
Thank you, Mayor. It was really nice since our last council meeting, because there were actually two ribbon cuttings. One was at Conifer Ridge, and then the other one, as the mayor said, was at Frost English Silver. And I had the benefit of going to both of them, and it really is nice to see that we have these new housing options in our city. I agree with you, Mayor, that this is one of the most fun things when we get to vote on things, and we get to see a project start from just basically blueprints that our Planning Commission and Design Review take a look at, and all our commissions review, and then to actually go to the ribbon cutting is really quite spectacular. So that's the fun part of our jobs. That was really fun since our last council meeting. In addition to that, I went to the White Bear Area Chamber Business Recognition lunches, lunch, and it was over at Keller Golf Course, of course, which is in Maplewood, and Venberg Tire was awarded a Business of Distinction award this year. They've been a long-time family business over on Highway 61. I know I've had many flats fixed by them. They do a nice job, so it was fun to see them get an award. Also, it was another business connection. We had our they're monthly, right? Or the monthly business breakfast over at the Quarterly. Okay, that's what I thought. Quarterly business breakfasts, and our own police chief talked about kind of the police department, and it was a great, I think, introduction for him to businesses in our community, and a really nice way for him to connect. So those are all the things that I wanted to report about.
Great, lots of good things happening, right? So I'm going to add a couple of more before I have a report by our superintendent. One thing you might have heard about in the news, I think it was on all the major news channels and in both newspapers, was there is a new female veterans transitional home in Maplewood, and it's on 5th Street. And so Saturday they had an open house for the neighbors, and I went and met the folks and talked to the neighbors. And kind of like we have a parent from Carver School here, right, is when these projects come in the neighborhoods, the neighbors don't know what to think, right? But it was really amazing. I will tell you, it was a donor that wanted to give a piece of land and donated it and wanted it for this use. And so I think it fits in well with the neighborhood. I just encourage people to talk to people at the home. There's both 5 bedrooms in there as well as supportive services, so there are services being offered there. They had these posters all around the home that said, "I am not invisible." And they're posters of people that look like just all of us that are veterans and have been through these experiences and need a good place to stay. So I think we should be proud of having that in Maplewood. Secondly, I'm in the Regional Council of Mayors, which is mostly the suburban mayors, and we did a tour of the 3M Innovation Center last Monday. And, it's very exciting. I think, has everybody done that? You guys done that? It's like they do this Omni movie theater, and then the walls lift up, and then they have their most famous inventions. I mean, it's like amazing. And then you learn about everything like what's in your cell phone, the different kinds of films, and those many, many products 3M has. So I wanted to thank 3M for hosting them, and it's kind of a rare opportunity that we're able to do that. Councilmember Smith could not go to the Gold Line meeting this week, so I went, and I think I just want to encourage you all to read in the newspaper what's happening with that. There's this downtown loop that's proposed. It's about where it gets us in the FTA process. We need, that we've been working on this project for a very long time. It's important to move it forward, and so by doing the loop, you get more people in poverty, and it increases your chances to medium high of getting funded as opposed to medium low. So there was a discussion about that. Unfortunately, the St. Paul person was not there, so I think it'll be continued. But they're coming to the council next time. Is that City Manager Coleman? Pretty soon. So just keep an eye on that debate. We also had another ribbon cutting for a place called Stat Home Healthcare. It's behind Cub Foods. You know where there's a little business park there? Their owners came from Columbus, Ohio. They are, see if I get the word right, Nepalese. They're from Nepal. They must have had 15 guys in blue suits. It was, all family owned, and it was really terrific. They also put on a spread, set up a tent and had a spread out there, and then we were going to welcome there. I think home health care is, as we all know, a huge industry, and so it's great to have them in Maplewood. And last, wanted to thank, I see the staff is here for the rec run. Neil, I think you guys did a great job. Superman was there. What more can we say about that? Who, of course, is one of the police officers. And we had a good participation, and I think it's very positive. A lot of people were using it to train for other events, the Halloween events, the Thanksgiving events, and so I think it's a really good time of the year. And so thanks for all your work on that. I think it was really important and really well done. So I think that is it for council presentations, which now leads us to our presentation from our District 622 Superintendent, Christine Osorio. So I want to welcome her, and one thing unique that the superintendent has done is has the mayors and the city managers meet together and talk about our cities, and I just wanted to, as a way of introduction, tell you how helpful that is. I think having us be able to communicate with you about what the school district's needs are is good. And the other thing I'll always remember is the meeting with the realtors. I often cite that meeting, but that it's a partnership, right? We need to attract residents, and the first thing they look at the schools, and the schools need school children, and the first thing they look at is the city, right? So we both want to make sure we're doing our parts, and I think we're doing everything we can, and we can always, in these, as we're an urban area getting much more close as we're next to St. Paul, there's always work to be done. So we appreciate you being here. City Manager Coleman, do you have any remarks you wanted to make about the superintendent? Nice introductory remarks. So usually I tip it to her, and then we take it forward.
I think you really covered everything, Mayor, but I would say that we really support and value our partnership, and if there's anything that we can do to help you in your efforts, that we're here to help too.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Mayor Slawick, members of the City Council, and city leaders, I'm really pleased and excited to be here this evening. For those of you who haven't met me, I'm Christine Osorio, Superintendent for District 622, North St. Paul, Maplewood, Oakdale, and a part of Woodbury, and Pine Springs, and a little slice of Lake Almo and Landfall. I have to throw those in because people don't always remember all the other pieces that go along with our city, but we're very, very proud of the work that we're doing and the collaboration that we have going on with our cities right now. So I just want to give an initial shout out to the leadership here in Maplewood. We have had a fantastic partnership, and not only just in terms of strategic planning and things like that, but lots and lots of support from Chief Nadeau, who in his work and he's been amazingly responsive to questions, concerns, conversations. We often text each other whenever something's happening and we want to connect with each other. So really great connection. And the communications department in Maplewood has been fantastic to work with as well. So shout out to our communications team as well. So
Excellent.
with that, I'm going to jump right in. There are so many things I could tell you about what's happening in District 622 right now. I will tell you, I sometimes talk a little bit fast. I am going to go through a lot of topics in a short amount of time. My hope is that whether you have questions this evening or even follow-up questions after this evening, that you know I'm available, and we're happy to have conversations and further conversations after we're finished tonight. I always like to show people a little bit. This is our current school board. We do have 4 members up for 4 slots open for re-election this year. 3 are running and 1 is not. So we will definitely have a new member on our school board this year. We have a cabinet. It's interesting to listen to your meeting structures because they're very similar to school board meetings and the way we do business. But I think it's always helpful, and I think you'll all receive a copy of this later, so you can refer back to it if you need to. Just who we are and the directors that are on my cabinet. Next, I wanted to just talk a little bit about a few things that I was just going to go through today and hopefully open the doors for further conversations. I always like to start with demographics. These are the latest demographics for our school district. You can see that to the left is the state of Minnesota and to the right is School District 622. We're becoming increasingly diverse and across multiple different racial and ethnic groups as well. These numbers are changing dramatically, as I'm sure you see also with the city. And our youngest grades are our most diverse. So our high schools are a little less diverse than right now if you were to look at our pre-K, kindergarten, first grades. I want to just mention our strategic plan. I don't expect that you can read that on this slide right now, but I do want to remind you all that it is on our website and I can send you copies. Our strategic plan was adopted in December of 2016, so not quite 2 years ago. And what was really innovative about how we built this plan, first of all, the end plan is 1 page. That's the entire plan right there. We're very proud of it. It drives our work every single day. And we had over 1,000 people participate in World Cafe community input sessions to try to help build that plan with us. So we're very, very excited about that. We clearly came out with our core values, our mission outcomes, and 4 key strategies that we wanted to launch our work with. I thought tonight I would just give you a quick glimpse into those 4 strategies and how we're progressing in those areas. The first one we wanted to talk about was communications. When I first got to the district and spent a lot of time doing some focus groups and roundtables, it became clear that we had a long way to go in regarding communications. Not only external communications, but internal with our own organization. We are a school district of almost 11,000 students, and we have over 1,600 employees. We're a very large employer in the area, and it's really important. We felt that our employees felt that they had a voice in the organization and they had opportunities to be a part of and influence decision-making within the organization. So that was our goal with communications. Since that time, and back then, we didn't even have a district Facebook page. There was no social media presence by the school district. There was by some individual people. We created that. We actually really became active on social media, pushing out good news stories about our district. One of the things that we always felt was our district has so many good things to tell, but we weren't doing a very good job of telling those stories for a while. You may have noticed, if you haven't subscribed to those Facebook pages and social media, please check them out. We tend to push out a good news story twice a day. We try to. And so fun stories across our entire district and all the buildings. But we've also recognized that print media really matters. We've learned over the last few years, 82% of our voters in our school district do not have children in our schools. So we really thought it was important to start. We used to put out a big publication once a year. We've switched to these postcards, and I'm sure you've been hopefully receiving these. We've been trying, our goal is to put out a postcard once every 2 months and tell a story about what's happening. One of the things we're also committed to is we did pass a referendum operating levy back in 2016. We try to put out a postcard every year that shows how those dollars are put to use this school year. And so we have those out there as well. They're all archived on our website. We also put together a lot of information about our school district. Our communications department, we didn't have one, by the way. We have now got a communications director. We didn't used to have one. That's another big step forward. But we've got these wonderful face sheets about each of our schools, some information about each school. And when Mayor Slowick mentioned and Administrator Coleman mentioned the meetings we had with realtors, we went and looked up all those websites that run housing listings, like Realtor.com and Zillow and all of those, and started realizing a lot of our information was outdated. So it would link to the school district, and it would link to administrative names who are not, anybody even knows who they are. So those folks, we've claimed back our website, we've claimed back our sites, and we're very much aware of now where our information is coming from and how it's getting out there so that we have a better handle on that. Next, I wanted to talk a little bit about, in terms of communications, we have that happening. We also have enormous internal and external opportunities with print media. And we've also been putting out print news stories in our newspapers. So if you ever get the Lily News, we are in it a lot now. Print stories are coming out almost monthly now in some form or other. And also we're getting some fairly good coverage in the Star Tribune and Pioneer Press. Partnerships is a big key for us. We really wanted to take a look at how do we better use our partnerships and collaboration in our district. We hired a partnership coordinator, and we've established a database where we organize not only all the existing partnerships that we currently have with each school or with the whole district, with community agencies and business partners, but also we've created a database for volunteerism. So if people want to get connected to our school system, they can connect into the system, enter their information, and we can connect them with a need that we have that might match the skills and talents. We found this has been really interesting, especially for some of our folks who are empty nesters or retired members of our community who really want to stay connected with young people and sharing the gifts that they have. So we're very excited about the partnerships work with that. We've also started, by the way, a partnership newsletter that's just come out, our first edition, so I'll make sure you're getting copies of that. We wanted to focus on diversity. How do we develop and enhance programs and practices that ensure engagement of our diverse learners? We have been focusing on a number of different things in terms of cultural training, culturally responsive teaching practices, but really also looking at how do we bring forward student voice and identity in the instructional practices in our schools. That's a major focus of our work right now. Additionally, we're also working to recruit and retain diverse staff, diverse talent. We're very, very proud that we're making really wonderful progress in that regard with our administrative hires. Our school leaders, principals, assistant principals, and deans, I think we're now above 45% of folks of color in those leadership positions. We're very proud of that. Strategy 4 talks about developing competitive E12 pathways. We're very excited about the fact that we want our school system to be very competitive. And at first we thought about K-12, and then we thought, no, we want our early learning programs to be competitive as well. And we offer extensive early learning programs, one of the largest in the area. We have over 500 students in our pre-K preschool programming, 500. It's really unbelievable. So we are very excited about that. And we finally launched these career and technical pathways in our high schools. So we're very excited about that as well. This is the first year of that program getting off the ground. So we're going to have a lot of work coming ahead for internships and things like that for our students. I want to talk a little bit about our school district beating the odds. We're very proud. I don't know if you've seen some of the recent articles in the Star Tribune. They had come out with an article recently about elementary schools that are beating the odds and performing better than schools with similar demographics and information. 6 of our 9 elementaries were on that list. We're very proud of that. We have some pretty amazing progress happening right now in our high school college credits earned while in high school. We're one of the leaders in the state for number of students who take a college in the schools class in our high schools. Over 60% of our high school students actually complete a college credit while they're in high school. And you can see last year over 2,700 college credits were earned, and a lot of AP exams, over 1,300 were completed last year. We're very proud of our course catalog. We always invite people to take a course catalog from neighboring high schools and take ours and line them up together because we're proud of what we have to offer. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about facilities needs. We've got a lot of things that have been happening in our district regarding facilities. We did an energy audit a couple years ago. We were hoping to make sure we were not wasting any money on energy costs going out the window, literally. So we brought in a firm to help us do that. It involved into an enormous evaluation of all of our facilities, not only for energy costs, but for learning environments. We've run into some issues with elementary space. Some of you have seen my presentations on that. We found our schools and our principals were getting very innovative and creative about how they use space. But in a nutshell, schools today serve students differently than the time they were built in. There used to be a time where you needed 20 classrooms, 20 teachers, and a principal's office. Well, now we offer a lot of programs. We offer English as a second language, we offer social services, we offer counseling, we offer speech and language, and all those things require office spaces. So we are looking at also how can we renovate our buildings. So we've got a lot of different funding streams that we're using to help us renovate buildings and get ready for that. We're thrilled that we decided that we really wanted to take some time to go slow, try to prioritize minimal impact to our taxpayers if we can. I'm very excited and pleased to show you this next graphic. In our school district, we have some old debt that is getting paid off due to, if you recall, North High School and the Skyview Community School were built in 1997. And at that time, a lot of new debt was acquired and to pay for those buildings. And now that debt is starting to get paid off. If you think of it like a mortgage getting paid off, you now have no new room in your budget to reinvest in facilities. So right now, we're working very closely with our financial advisors and the community and trying to look at our possibilities for how deeply can we renovate our schools if we can do it without raising taxes or not by very much. That's our goal. Not a lot of school districts have an opportunity like this on their horizon. Our debt forecast is beautiful. We're loving our debt forecast because it's going to allow us some opportunity to reinvest and hopefully without much, if any, of a tax increase at all for our residents. I just wanted to share briefly with you, as we're talking about our facilities planning, on the home page of our website, you will see that we have information posted regularly about our facilities planning. I also have a link to some of our social media accounts on there. If you are on social media, I encourage you to follow us. We've got a lot of great news stories coming about. And I also wanted to mention briefly that we could have a whole nother 2-hour discussion about school safety. We're very proud of the work that we're doing in school safety, not only with technology. We just were awarded 2 of the major grants from the Minnesota Department of Education for school safety. We're looking not only at facility renovations and technology resources for safety and security, but lots and lots of work about preventative, making sure our students are connected in our schools and not lost souls in our schools. Our activities directors at both of our high schools, Tartan and North, are very proud of the fact that we don't measure our success with athletics and activities and extracurriculars simply by how many teams make it to state tournaments. Although we're very proud of that too, because we've been really competitive. We count how many students are in them. That's our goal. That's our number one metrics for measuring our success. Our goal eventually is that 100% of our students are connected to some extracurricular or activities at school so that they are part of an organization, part of a group, a member of a community that they can connect with. That's a number one piece for preventing unsafe schools, is having everybody feel connected and supported. Lots and lots of systems for monitoring and intervening. Also, we have quite extensive threat assessment teams, and we work really closely with our school resource officers as well. So lots of work happening in that area. Finally, I just want to mention to you that we are really working on establishing a connection with our alumni. We have some pretty amazing alumni from our school district, and we're very excited about the fact that we want to do a better job of connecting with them, sharing their stories, but also making sure they can stay connected with the work that we're doing because they are part of our community. We recently had a class reunion from, I believe, 1947. Pretty exciting. So we're very interested in staying connected with our alumni. If you yourself are an alumni or you know of anybody, we'd love for you to connect in our Facebook or district page. You can connect there and enter your information and be added to our contact list. Finally, I'm open for comments and questions. I know this is a really quick drive-by of what's happening in our school district, but I do encourage you to not let this be our only point of contact. If you want to come and join us and get more connected with some of the work we're doing, we'd love to have more conversations with you.
Thank you. Great presentation. You know, I wanted to thank you. It reminded me that you came to the Regional Council of Mayors and took your time to be
Right,
there.
right.
And she's kind of a star among the superintendents too. So it was interesting to see your work there. But I was just going to say a couple things. It's great to see your cabinet, Randy Anderson. You know, he sits also on like the rush line
Yes,
for us, and
yes.
then that's going to be right by Weaver School.
Yep.
And so the fact that you're letting maybe they'd always do this, but having staff out there at these projects is really important.
We've made that a priority, absolutely.
So thank you for
Because it
doing
really
that.
is we have to collaborate with each other, and obviously we want to make sure we're sharing the key communication. What are the key messages regarding these projects as well?
Yeah, and we don't want you to be surprised or families
Yep,
to be
we
surprised.
appreciate
And
that.
you're the pipeline. Rumor. I'm just going to do one rumor control is that there might be a new middle school, or one of them, our current middle schools might become new. Is that true?
Well, I will tell you, quite honestly, we're hoping to renovate all of our buildings. That is our goal. We're looking right now at our demographic predictions. You know, we have a huge new development coming into Oakdale, a very large one. Although we keep waiting for it to develop, and it's been taking a little longer than first expected. But we've been told by the city of Oakdale that we may have as many as 2,000 new units of homes in the Oakdale area, so which are in our boundaries. So we are very much taking a look at the demographic changes. We are also looking at our integration of students. You know, there's a lot of work at trying to make sure that our schools are really well supported, that we're integrating our students and providing supports. And so we're kind of looking at boundaries. We know we're going to have some boundary changes for sure, because we have a few of our elementaries that are really overcrowded and some that are under enrolled. So that will be a piece of it as well. And we are looking at our middle schools to see what would be the best formula going forward.
so stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Okay.
And I will say this, I really do hope that we have a work session coming up, and we're going to be looking into some of this and having some deep conversations about it in the very near future. So my hope is that by end of November, we've got some key messages that we're out there talking about.
Terrific. Good. Council, anything? I think we want to give you enough time to do all the things you need to do. We appreciate you taking the time to be here, and we'd like to continue the partnership with the other mayors, as well as you coming once a year. I think what you're doing is very impressive, and it's, it makes me, in a way, wish my kids were younger, because, you're improving.
Schools are going to look very
the
different in the
culture.
future.
Yeah.
They're really, really exciting changes
Yeah.
coming on the horizon in public education.
Yeah, and that's
Yes.
that's exciting. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Okay, good. Well, good. We will look forward to. I think 6:23 is at our next meeting. Yeah. So good. The superintendents. It's amazing the amount of work they have to do. Yeah, so I can imagine. It's Next, we will have, let's see, our resolution for commission appointment. City Manager Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor Slawik, members of the commission. Earlier this evening, we interviewed a candidate for a position on our Community Design Review Board. We interviewed Bruce Thompson. This opening is due to a resignation. The vacant term would run through April 30th. It is, with the vote that happened, it's unanimous that you would like to appoint Mr. Thompson to the Design Review Board, and we do need a motion to pass a resolution on page 15 of the packet.
I will make a motion to approve the resolution appointing Bruce Thompson to the Community Design Review Board.
Second.
It's been moved by Abrams and seconded by Juniman. The appointment of Bruce Thompson by resolution to the Community Design Review Board. His term would expire April 30th, 2019, because he's filling the end of someone's term, and then he would apply for reappointment at that time. Is there
Correct.
any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Hearing ayes all. The resolution is passed, and Mr. Thompson is appointed. So congratulations if you're watching from home. Glad to have you. Thank you. Next, we will have the resolution for commission reappointments. City Manager Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor Slawik, members of the commission. This evening, the council is reviewing a list of commissioners whose terms have expired on September 30th of 2018. The commissioners were asked to fill out an assessment to evaluate their time on the commission and to provide input to the council. Those commissioners approved for reappointment will serve a 3-year term ending on September 30th of 2021. And I would just note that I really enjoy reading their assessments because I think they give a little bit of ideas of what they're grappling with, but also what they think maybe we could focus on. So I appreciate that input, and I hope that you're reading those as well. They're very valuable. We have 6 commissioners whose terms expire. They did expire at the end of September. 2 of those did not seek reappointment, Mr. Maduka and Mr. Reese. 4 of them are seeking reappointment as indicated. So those are on the Environmental and Natural Resource Commission. It is Keith Buttleman, who's been a member since January of 2016. On the Housing and Economic Development Commission, it's Dennis Unger, who's been a member since 2011. On the Police Advisory Commission, we have 2 members, Carrie Hall and Mary Schoenborn, and they both were appointed in, one was appointed in 17, and one was appointed, has been on since 17 and 18. So with that, we are also passing a resolution on this one, and that is on page 18 of your packet. So if we could get a motion, that would be very helpful.
I move approval of the resolution reappointing the aforementioned commissioners.
It's been moved by Juniman and seconded by Abrams to pass a resolution appointing 4 individuals to be reappointed to the following commissions: ENR, Housing and Economic Development, and the Police Advisory Commission. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing ayes all, the resolution passes, and the individuals are reappointed to the following, to the commissions mentioned. So congratulations, and thank you for submitting your names, and we appreciate you being commissioners, because we know it takes some of your time and energy, but I agree with you, it was very interesting reading their reasons and some of the things they'd like to do. That brings us to the consent agenda items now, and typically these are considered routine and non-controversial and are approved by one motion of the council. But I think earlier this evening, Councilmember Juniman asked to have a review of 5, 6, and 7, which all concern donations. So City Manager Coleman, are you going to be doing that?
I'd be happy to. Thank you, Mayor Slawik, members of the council. These are resolutions accepting donations as required by council policy. The first one is a donation of $1,050 from the family of Carolyn Peterson for a memorial bench at Fish Creek Preserve. And I think it would be important to remind everybody that Carolyn Peterson was a longtime resident of Maplewood, and she worked tirelessly as a volunteer in our community. She helped with the preservation of the Bruintrup Farm. She was an advocate for Fish Creek. She was a real trailblazer. And really worked to make things happen in our community. So it is we're really grateful for the donation from her family for Fish Creek for a memorial bench. The second donation is from Community All for Kids fundraising. And this one is particularly interesting because it's a group of children who donated funds in the amount of $18. So I can only imagine how that happened. But nonetheless, we are grateful for the donation. It was a donation from the fundraiser Team Brew Card was sold. So the $18 check was 9 people who selected our parks for their donation. This was not solicited by staff, but we're grateful to have it nonetheless.
Absolutely.
So thank you to them. And the last one is also a donation for another bench at Fish Creek Preserve, which we are grateful to have. And this was from Philip and Marlene Kackelmeyer. And they also, they walk the site frequently, they pick up litter, they love the trails, and things that happen there. And they are doing this in honor of their celebration of their anniversary. So we're grateful to those 3 folks for thinking of us when they made their donations.
I had a question, City Manager Coleman. So because there's already 2 people doing it for the benches, is that something any resident can do, or how does our policy work?
Absolutely. If anyone's interested in making a donation to our parks or our open spaces, they should contact ADRA. and
Yeah, it's
she
a
will.
nice- they're kind of
It's a really
perpetual
great
and
way to
memorial.
memorialize a family member, and we're happy to do that. We recently did a tree planting for a family. We're very open to that and would be happy to work with someone who wanted to do that.
I think that the tree planting was in a park, right? So if you want to do that in memory of anybody in your family or your neighborhood, I think that's a really important thing to do, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Councilmember Juneman?
Yeah, I think, and just to mention about Carolyn Peterson, I think she gets a longevity award in supporting everything to do with nature and the parks and the open spaces. She was on the Parks Commission for quite some time. She was very key years ago in the accessibility piece. She brought up the ADA to our Parks Commission, and that is why we have a lot of accessible trails and that type of thing, because she was not giving up.
Right.
So she was really a pioneer. And she also had a lot to do with the original open space referendum. She worked tirelessly on that. And it's interesting that she never, ever let go. She was on the Historic Preservation Committee, and she was very instrumental in the farm, and not only acquiring, but updating and making sure, again, accessibility was an issue, and she addressed it. And then finally, she and Char Waslick, of course, were the pioneers on Fish Creek, and those two never let go. So I do think I was really pleased to see this, and I thank Carolyn's family, because I think she spent sometimes many more hours with us than she did with them.
I always remember when they came down to the legislature and they had that big fish. And they would do Fish Creek, and it was, people probably remember this, but it was kind of bumpy. The first year was pretty bumpy. And so, and then they had to come back and do it all again. And I think, with Dewey's leadership and with Carolyn Peterson and Char and all of them, it got done. And now you see what a wonderful place it is, and just their vision and her persistence.
And I
is
think it said
amazing.
something to the legislature that they came back, and now look at, they can see it too.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wonderful. Second.
It's been moved by Abrams and seconded by Juneman, items 1 through 8 on the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing ayes, all the consent agenda is approved. So if you were here for the consent agenda, don't feel like you have to stay any longer. We're running almost a record meeting here. We have no public hearings. We have unfinished 2 more items. Unfinished business, the award of the 2019 charitable gambling funds. So City Manager Coleman, do you want to talk about
Yes,
that?
thank you, Mayor Slawick. I have good news and bad news. The good news is that everybody that applied for funding through the charitable gambling did receive an award. The bad news is out of the 21 applications, we had $64,000 in requests, and we were only able to grant $30,000. So the council was able to submit their allocations. They each did so individually. They were tallied. It's in the staff report. There is a public copy of the book. It seems to have found its way to the front of the room here on the chair, if anyone would like to look at those. I'm guessing that we, at the last meeting when the applications were submitted and you let all of the applicants speak that were here and wanted to, they were told that they could look at the packet online and get the information, and I think most of them have, because I don't see any of the award winners here this evening, and people were not calling. So I think technology is working, and they were all informed. So with that, Mayor, we just need you to accept the awards.
I'll move the acceptance of the awards for the charitable gambling funds.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Abrams and seconded by Juneman to accept the 2019 charitable gambling funds score sheet as presented. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye. Mayor, I was just thinking it was too bad that the superintendent left, because there were several,
Some awards, yeah.
Yeah.
Several of our groups.
some special
Yeah.
groups in 622, which is good to see that, I think the era has passed and people say, well, they should be able to do that for themselves. It's like, many more things in schools are considered frills now because of what has happened. And without these groups coming and asking, kids will be denied some really great opportunities. And so it's good that they go other places too to ask, and I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, the learning opportunity for everybody. I mean, this most likely is part of funding, right, that they're putting together. But the
Yeah.
fact that they come and ask us and fill out those applications, I think is important. And I think for us, it's important to see how we're supporting the community. So good. Now we're down to our last item of business, which is the new business, the confirmation of the North End Vision Study Working Group. And I think this is really exciting. So City Manager Coleman, do you want to
Yeah.
tee this one up?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. The North End Vision Study Working Group will start working here in a few weeks, and Mr. Martin will give the report on how we came up with the group and who they are. But it's really important. This is such an important project for the city of Maplewood, and to evaluate our North End and to look at the mall area and how we can really include different people from our broader community to help us with this endeavor. I think that the makeup of the group is very well-rounded. It includes a lot of the people that we need to have in terms of residents and businesses and the project team. So with that, Mayor, I would like you to call on Mr. Martin to talk about the working group and who they are and how that's going to get started.
Mr. Martin?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Staff is requesting approval tonight to confirm the members of the proposed North End Working Group. This working group was developed by advertising using our social media channels, our connections, networks, professional groups, and so forth on getting the word out on seeking applications for stakeholders to apply to be on this group. We also reached out to specific individuals, like at the Ramsey County Ramsey County Regional Rail, to make sure that they have an identified member on this group. So it's kind of a combination of seeking people from the general public and business community who would want to sit on it, but we also knew that there were some specific stakeholders that we needed to ensure were included with this group. So again, the working group is comprised of those various stakeholders, which do include residents from the area, business owners, landowners, nonprofit organization, other government agencies, appointed officials, and elected officials. You'll see in the list included with your staff report, we have members from the Planning Commission, Community Design Review Board, Housing and Economic Development Commission, and the Parks and Recreation Commission identified to sit on this group, and as well as the City Council as a whole would sit on this group. It won't be identical as far as the operation of the group as the 2040 Comprehensive Plan and Rice-Larpenter processes, but you'll see some similarity as how those groups were managed and function and how that process develops. Ultimately, this working group will work with staff and the consultant team on evaluating alternatives for the North End area of the city, and ultimately will recommend a preferred plan to the City Council to consider. This working group does not replace other outreach methods. As you recall, in August, we had open house at the Ramsey County Library. We're going to do several in-person outreach activities like that. We'll be visiting the commissions directly, council workshops directly. So it's not just all on the working group. We will be pounding the pavement, so to speak, where we have an effort of trying to interact and meet with every business within the North End area directly, face-to-face, to get them involved. Not only with the North End, but how it ties in with the Rush Line work that's also being conducted. And we also did want to point out, because the council's sitting on this group, it's not a council meeting, obviously, but we will publicize the meeting, and they will operate as public meetings like we did with the comprehensive plan process. This group will meet the fourth Wednesday of every month through the spring, but skipping December. As we know, December is a tough and busy time for this particular area of the city with all the retail operations. And so the first meeting is scheduled, as Manager Coleman, just a few weeks, on the 24th of October at 6 p.m. and will be held at the Ramsey County Library, the same room that we had that open house in August. So with that, staff can stand for any questions, but staff is recommending approving the list of the working group that's included with your staff report tonight. Thank you.
I want to thank you for your report on this and for pulling this together. I think this is another one of those, being on the council for a couple of years, right, that you learn these things don't just come together easily. There's a lot of work to this. You have to solicit people to come. You have to make sure they apply. You have to sometimes go out and do a little bit of outreach. I think you really put together a great group. You have people from all the different commissions, as well as, everything from Maplewood Mall to Health East to Chick-fil-A to Plaza TV, and I think it's a really good representative group. So it's going to be, where exactly are the meetings going to be? Do we know? It says is it the library?
Mayor and council, the first meeting for sure will be at the Ramsey County Library.
Okay.
At the same meeting room, we have the open house. We were hoping to be able to schedule out all meetings in that room since it's right in the neighborhood, but the library has a policy of only scheduling out 60 days. So
that's right.
we also know that people like to depend, and, repetition helps with these type of efforts. So we might be looking for an alternative meeting space. Our first goal is to try to find something in the north end, since it
Right.
makes sense, but we may have to fall back on city facilities. So we'll have more information on October 24th to have a
Okay.
defined meeting place for the rest of the process.
And I assume with council being on there, you're probably doing this on email, that you're going to, after tonight, inform all these people that they're part of the group and so forth?
Yep, Mayor and Council, we did inform them already that they were in consideration up until this point, and if confirmed, we will follow up with you made it type of email, and then we'll next week send out information about that first meeting.
Okay, if you could, and the only thing is, if you could put out the meeting schedule, again, I mean, because we go into our calendars, it's the 3rd, right? But just lay out the dates, it would be, at least be helpful. We can get all those on our calendar. And council, I hope you will go to the October 24th one. I have a conflict, so I hope a couple people at least will go with that. Any questions from anybody about the process? Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Abrams and seconded by Juneman. A motion to approve the proposed members of the North End Vision Study Working Group as detailed in the report. Is there any further discussion? Congratulations to everyone, and just, I know everybody will do this, but please come to the meetings and do your work, because these things clip along too, and if you miss a meeting or two, you can get really far behind. All those.
Mayor?
Count-
As long as you brought that up, it's I'm sure it'll be in the email as well. Part of the, if you will, rules of the group are you must read
Must
your
attend.
packet, and
Yeah.
if you miss more than 2 meetings, you'll be replaced because of continuity. So-
Yeah, it's really important, and
Yes.
it's hard if somebody walks in and then they're asking all those questions that everybody already knows.
Yes.
So good point. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Hearing ayes all, the working group passes. So with that, it's 8:03. I think it's maybe a record, but it's not the 5-minute one that Councilmember Smith had. So have a great week, and with that, we are adjourned.